Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Arlene and today's video is brought to you from inside of my closet. This is one of my closets. It's a little teeny weeny closet, probably like the size of a sound booth. I have another closet like over, you can't really see it. It's like this big IKEA furniture. Anyway, the reason why I'm in my closet is because my kids are here today and I don't want to be interrupted and I don't want background noise, and I'm going to make this one real quick and simple. So the whole point of my channel is for women to feel like their fullest potential has finally been met, is for them to find ways to become well-rounded. And the reason why I feel like this is an important thing is because when I thought that I was a well-rounded, complete, whole woman, I was wrong. I was not. There were so many things that I have learned along my journey. Even though I do have to give a lot of credit to women nowadays in their 20s and early 30s, because they are learning things super quick. And I don't know if it's because of the world that we live in today. Now with the internet access that we have, there's so much to learn so quickly. But at the same time, there's a lot of negativity that is very easy to absorb by the stuff that we see today on the internet. So I talked a lot about, living alone, how I came to be able to afford my own home, the peace of all of that. And one of the things that I did want to just popped in my mind that I just realized I haven't brought up yet, because there's going to be so many aspects to it, right? So many things, is the importance of having an open mind and trying new things, even if they make you uncomfortable, especially if they make you uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I had to be pushed out of my comfort zone so many times. Ever since I was a little girl, I was always very fearful of a lot of things. I grew up with a lot of anxiety. I didn't feel 100% secure in my upbringing with my parents. If something, went wrong, if I felt sad or hurt, like I needed help, I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of support or much of a group of people or a person that I could go to. So I felt like I had to handle things a lot by myself, and it was very overwhelming for being a small child. And that pattern just continued throughout my adolescence, my teenage years. There just really wasn't any adult or anybody with wisdom that I could go to and talk to or express my fears or my problems or my concerns or the things that made me nervous and anxious. And so it forced me into a bubble where I felt like, okay, these are my limitations. This is as far as I can go, where I will feel comfortable, and I don't want to go any farther than that. And it's hard for me to get into detail because I'm trying to make this video not super duper long, because I can go on and make my videos very long, and I don't want to do that. Trying to keep them in 10 minutes, around there, or less. But if you have an example of something that you feel makes you really uncomfortable and you do not want to try or you do not want to do, please, by all means, feel free to mention it in the comments below and I can address it in another video and we can talk about that. But there's a lot of things. There are certain hard no's, right? There are things that I need to do in order to break out of my comfort zone, in order to grow, in order to expand, in order to see if this is something that I like, that I don't like, because you're not sure, right? And having uncertainty can be confused with fear. We tend to be afraid of the things that we're not sure about. But there are certain things that we are sure about, that we've experienced repeatedly and we know are going to cause us harm or displeasure or just pain, discomfort, that we absolutely are not willing to go there. Like, small, silly example. My whole life, I've always been very sensitive with motion, and I was easily motion sickness. And so going to like the youth fair, where all the kids and all the teenagers are like riding all the big roller coasters that do tons and tons of flips. If I wanted to like go with the crowd and be cool, I would have to ride these things too. Otherwise, you're just like this big baby, this old grandma lady just sitting down waiting for us to get off the ride because you're too scared. No, I'm not scared. I'm just not interested in like getting sick in front of a whole group of people in the middle of a public place. So nor do I want to experience the vertigo and the dizziness that is associated with it. So for me, that is a hard no. And I am confident in my boundaries. It's like, sorry guys, like, if you don't like it, you don't like me for it, like, go ahead, have fun, I'll be over here. Like, I didn't let people make me feel like I was, you know, like I should be on a kiddie ride, or I was like uncool because of it. But that came with time. That came with confidence. There was a time where I felt silly or uncool, so I wouldn't be caught dead. I wouldn't go to the fair, and if I saw people there that I knew, I would avoid them like the plague because I didn't want them to see that I wouldn't get on the rides. But now this is something, everything about me is something that I fully embrace and I'm unapologetic for. Because I know that at my core, I'm good, and I wouldn't do something that is a boundary or a hard no for me that will purposefully or intentionally cause harm to anyone. If I have a boundary or a hard no and it hurts someone's feelings, I'm pretty sure they'll live. I'm pretty sure they'll be fine, because it's not, no is not doing something to someone. No means I'm not going to allow you to do this to me. It is a barrier, a boundary, and putting up a distance or a barrier between myself and someone else doesn't allow me to hurt them. If they are hurt because of my distance, it is because they grew a closeness or an attachment to me, but they did something, they disrespected me, or they crossed a boundary, or they hurt me, or they did something to earn this wall or this barrier that I have now put up in order to protect myself. So it's actually a defense. It is not hurting anyone. So I sleep well at night knowing that wherever I draw the line in the sand, it is not to hurt anyone. It is just solely to protect myself. With that said, there's a lot of things that you do have to break out of your shell. You should try. Even if you feel like, I don't know, this might make me uncomfortable, like trying a really spicy hot sauce, or like just try to think about, if I do this, what kind of discomfort could I feel? Is that something I can handle? And when you make those decisions to try something new, different, or that might make you uncomfortable, just be sure that you're going to be safe. Like, if you know you're going to take a risk by bungee jumping and you could potentially risk your life, understand what you're getting yourself into and make your decisions using your sound mind and rationale. But let's say it's something as silly as like tasting a kind of food that you doesn't look good to you, it looks sketchy to you, or you know, going to a concert of a style of music that you don't think you're gonna really like, but you're kind of not certain either. Just don't dismiss things right off the bat. Give things a chance, right? And you might be surprised at how your perspective might change based on that experience. Sometimes there are things that you didn't like before, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even in your childhood. And then you try them again now, and it's like you're seeing them through new eyes. More wise eyes, more experienced eyes. This is, it's just different entirely. It feels like a whole new experience. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've experienced this before. If you have, let me know in your comments. Let me know down in the comments. I remember I used to hate this, and then I tried this, and then I loved it. I mean, we've all experienced it, right? And that's part of our growth journey. And that is with a lot of things. Like one of the things, and sometimes you're not going to be pleasantly surprised and be like, oh wow, yeah, you know, I really thought that I would hate this and now I love it. Sometimes you give things multiple chances and you find yourself still coming to the same conclusion. This is not for me. I'll give you one example. I am not a religious person. I consider myself to be a spiritual person. Do I believe in God? Yes, I do. Do I pray? Yes, I do. But do I go to church? No, I don't. There's something about going to church, and please, I mean no offense to anyone who goes to church. If you go to church and you have a community and a group and you love it and you see all your friends and family there, and that's wonderful for you. I'm so happy for you. In fact, I wish I could enjoy it in that manner, but it's hard for me. It's hard for me to feel connected to a community of people via a church setting. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm very introverted and kept to myself. I think it's because, to me, I see God as a very personal thing. So even though we're all human beings and we all share the same God, I still feel like it's a very personal thing. And so I choose to worship and give thanks and praise and communicate in a personal, private matter. I prefer to do it in my mind, at home, in my form of meditation. But there was always a part of me that sought God, and it wasn't for the purpose of seeking others or seeking to commune with others. It was for me to seek some sort of communion with something greater than myself. And in reality, it's you trying to discover yourself. So when I was a kid, actually, I remember going through CCD classes. It's like a Catholic, schooling classes that you take after school. I wasn't a regular public school. I didn't go to any private school or Catholic school, but we took religion courses in order to get our first communion. My family is Cuban, so, the culture is, religion is Catholic. And then you do your confirmation and then you're done. Well, after my parents divorced, I was no longer able to take those classes. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I was disenrolled, but I remember thinking, I had been a child and I had been to weddings in churches, and I remember hearing from someone that if you don't have your communion and your confirmation, you can't get married in a church. And like I had said in one of my previous videos, I grew up very traditional. I mean, I was like almost like a little Amish kid, like everything very feminine and traditional roles. For some reason, I loved it. I loved baby dolls and I loved all that stuff. And if you ask me how I feel about that stuff now, it's a little different, but it's because I've already lived it. I've already experienced it, but we're not going to get into that right now. But I remember thinking, oh my God, I have to get married in a church. I have to do my communion and my confirmation. And I signed up myself when I was 13 or 14 to the church that was like just blocks away from my house. I had a friend drop me off, or my mom dropped me off, and I went and I said, look, I'm this age, I don't have my first communion yet, and I want to be able to do it. They're like, oh, you can do it all together and this and that. You just have to come, every week on this day and this time, and we do courses and classes, and in about a year you should be able to have both. I'm like, excellent. And I did it for that reason, but as I was going through my classes, my reasoning changed. It shifted. I realized that this was an opportunity for me to get closer to source. And I had so many questions, and I had so many thoughts and so many philosophical things going through my mind. And whenever I would try to talk to or approach one of the teachers or a priest or a nun or whomever, a lot of my questions were met with, we don't ask that question. It just is what it is. And I'm like, okay. And then that kind of, I did finish. I got my communion, I got my confirmation. At one point, I even considered joining some sort of ministry services. It was something that I was very passionate about, trying to understand the origin of human life and where we come from and how we got here, and what connection we have to whatever it was that brought us here. But I wanted more, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it from the church. And then my sister was in a religious marriage, and her husband was not Catholic but Christian. She's like, come to the Christian church. And I tried that, and it was so different from Catholic Mass. Catholic Mass, you're quiet, you're listening, and you get up and you get your communion, and you do your thing, and peace be with you, whatnot, and then it's over. In this Christian Mass felt like a party, and everybody was dancing and cheering, and something about it felt not personal. It felt like being in a nightclub, and that to me does not allow me to connect deeply with what I believe God and source to be. I feel disconnected. I feel distracted by all the people in the crowd and watching them and seeing them have their experience. And while they're all connecting, I feel disconnected. I feel like I am not connecting with God. I'm sitting here just people watching. So it doesn't work for me. And I did take a world religion class, and I studied a lot about different types of cultures and different types of religions across the globe, and how many differences and how many similarities there are. And that's how I came to my conclusion that I don't personally feel like I need any specific religion, nor do I need to attend any specific type of church in order to feel my closeness and my connection with God. And it took several times of me pushing my own, perception out of the way to say, let me try again. And believe it or not, earlier this year, I tried it again. There was a time in which I felt lonely. There was a time in which I was not feeling happy. And I said, maybe if I find a community from a church, And I went to a mass, and I felt the same way. I felt myself sitting in the back, watching everyone, listening to the man on stage talk about things that, yes, okay, they're wise, but I understand everything he's saying. It's nothing I've never heard before. I've even read parts of the Bible like, extensively, and I just felt like, what am I doing here? I felt very disconnected. And again, this is not to offend anyone who is part of the church, and you know, I appreciate it, but please don't try to tell me like what I'm missing and like try to convince me to try again, because I know myself. That's my hard boundary. That's my no. So I don't think I could ever be with a person that's extremely religious, because it just wouldn't work for me. And it doesn't mean, once again, that I don't believe in a God, that I don't have faith or appreciation, or that I'm not thankful or grateful for the blessings and the things that have occurred in my life. But it just means that, you know, I have attempted several times to try this thing to see if my perspective changes, and it hasn't. But there has been a lot of things that I have tried that have completely blown my mind. It was like a whole new experience. So I'm at 15 and a half minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. If you like my videos, please, 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 I ask that you like this video if you like this one. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. I'll try to put out better ones. But if you like my content in general, please subscribe and hit the little bell for me, ding, so that you're notified each time that I post a video. And if you find this video helpful for someone that you might know, by all means, please feel free to share it. And I will see you guys in the next one.